Okay. There we go. Oh, man. Let's boost that up a little bit there. That's a little quiet. There we go. How's everybody doing this fine evening? I hope things fare you all well. Oh. Silly me. It's not on. It should be. Where is it? That's the incorrect one. Video capture. There we go. Oof. That's very big. And incorrect. Oh my goodness, why does it do this? It defaults everything. There we go. Much better. It's still messy though. Why is this being so slow? It's being slow, I don't know why. That's okay, I suppose. But it's being slow. I don't know why. There we go. That's much better. Okay. There we go. All fixed. Much better. All right. So, today, we're working on something that I've been putting off and putting off and putting off and putting off because there's been a million other things to do. But today, it gets put off no more. And that is, we are putting together the Porcupine totem option for the Totem Barbarian. Good old Thorns build. There's no good way to do that in 5th edition as it stands from the looks of things. So we're gonna make it so that we can punish people for attacking us, and then encourage them to attack us more, and then make them feel bad for doing so, and rinse and repeat. So, first things first, as always, with anything that you make on your own you have to first compare it to other things like it. So we have 3 levels that we need to fill out. We need to fill out 3rd. That is incorrect. We need to fill out 3rd level. We need to fill out, I believe it is 6th level and 14th level. Because the 10th level feature is a standalone. It is one of those ones that it is not an option. It provides one that is same for all totem barbarians across the board. I believe it was commune with nature or something like that. Or some sort of effect of that nature. No pun intended. Apologies for the rapid eating and drinking. Still hungry for some reason. So, what we need to do is we need to create something that is similar in effective strength to others like it. So, starting at 3rd level, we have, of course, the infamous and often referred to as the strongest effect. My camera looks a little grayed out. Let's see if we can fix that. Where is saturation? I'm gonna bring up the saturation. Maybe not that high. There we go. Oh, ew, no. You know, saturation just a little bit. There we go. That's much better. Okay. There, now I can actually, now I don't look like I'm as gray as the background. So there is, of course, the infamous Bear Totem, which grants you resistance to all damage except psychic. This obviously makes you extremely durable compared to other barbarians. Of course, now, the thing is that I don't actually think that this is actually quite as good as a lot of people point it out to be. The reason for this is because a lot of the things that cause damage to the barbarian are elemental damage bases. Most things that cause elemental damage bases that are actually high enough to threaten the large hit point pool that the barbarian already has is either requires a dexterity saving throw, which the barbarian has advantage on in most cases, or it's psychic damage, and psychic damage doesn't do a whole lot of damage inherently on its own because it is highly resisted highly non-resisted in most cases. Which is a bit of a shame, really, because I actually think psychic damage should be way more threatening than it actually ends up being a lot of the time. Sorry, what was that? Toby took a dump on the floor again? Oh my goodness. Stand by. I gotta deal with my cat's mess. Alrighty. Whoop. Sorry about that. Now, so Now, getting resistance to pretty much everything when you need it is still very, very good. Don't get me wrong. I value it on objects to get 1 resistance at all times really, really high in general when it comes to magic items. But the thing is that I think a lot of the time this gets overvalued because a barbarian is already pretty unkillable even without bear form. So, you know, there's that too. We're going to change the tunes a little bit here. Oh, excuse me. Let's go with this one. That's a little bit more chillaxing. Oh, it has rain sounds too. Nice. So, I just realized that you can't actually quite see this quite properly here. It actually ends there. So, I need to shift this close to just a little bit more. There we go. Excellent, excellent. So, now then. Next on the list is, of course, Eagle. Eagle while ranging you and you aren't wearing heavy armor, so basically, you know, as long as you're following the barbarian rules, other creatures have disadvantage on opportunity attacks against you. And you can use the dash action as a bonus action on your turn. So it gives you a lot of added mobility that the barbarian already has and lets you capitalize on getting where you need to as quickly as possible. And typically that means to the spellcasters that can actually do damage to you. So it basically does the same thing that the bear does, but in a different way. And you have to it's a little bit higher risk, but it's a little bit higher reward. Elk having a bonus 15-foot walking speed. Plain and simple. Really, really fast inherently at all times. Really, really good. Now, you could argue that Eagle is actually better than Elk here, because having a bonus action option is really, really good, especially on a barbarian, which doesn't have a lot of them unless they're dual wielding, which most aren't. Dual wielding barbarians are terrifying, though. Now, I actually personally really, really like Elk. I like the added movement speed. I like being able to just move around and be fast. Now, the big thing here is that you're only going to have a plus 10 to your movement speed as a barbarian, which means that you're going to move a whopping plus 25. If you're a halfling, you're moving at 50. That's a fast halfling. One would argue that you probably don't even need the dash in most cases with that point. And you just move faster in general. Alright, Tiger. You add 10 feet to your long jump distance and 10 feet to your high jump distance. Now, the thing about this one is that in a lot of cases, they're in terrain where this isn't really applicable. But there are cases where it is. I think being able to go into a position where you're always going to have high ground, and as someone who doesn't run flanking rules, being able to say, hey, I'm going to go up here and then attack the guy from up here, can I get some sort of bonus for that? That's a pretty good way to get to argue an advantage from your own attack point. Or some sort of other method. It also lets you get around things like walls and stuff like that. Being able to jump 3 feet higher is really, really high. Especially when you go like full reach and you have this extended arm and everything, and you're tall like a Goliath, along with the good athletics and high strength, you're probably going to be able to reach 15 feet in the air, if not more. You could probably jump up to your height, actually. I think it's your modifier plus... It's modifier plus 3. So let's say with the argument point that you have 6. You can jump 6 feet in the air. That means that you can get 6 feet up. You're 7 feet tall. And then if you have an arm's reach, you also then extend that by an extra half of your height on average. So if you so you have a 3 plus 4, so 7. You're 7 feet tall, so that's 14. Plus another 3.5. That's 17.5 feet that you can reach with your one hand. That's pretty high. I would allow for someone to try to jump up and grab the edges of walls and pull themselves over with that. So this is pretty good. Obviously not something like a castle wall, but an inner city wall, absolutely. Something that protects a specific property or something of that nature. And then wolf, while raging friends have an advantage on melee attacks. It says your friends have melee attacks against any creature within 5 feet of you that is hostile to you. This is basically like pseudo-pack tactics, where people just do better for fighting around. This is really, really good if you're fighting with a lot of other melee combatants, obviously. Melee rogue really loves this. So, it's quite clear that the level 3 ability for a barbarian is pretty strong. It roughly translates to granting advantage, gaining resistance, having a full bonus action, and a half, like something like a full action or a half, gaining half of your movement speed bonus. So it's a pretty like hefty stat, like pretty big stat check that you're getting out of this. So the goals. So let's actually get back over to something that's really important here. The goal. So let's start with the goals here. Come on. Learn to type. Goals. The main thing I want is a Thorns build. So, what does this mean? It means you want to get hit, so they get hurt. Basically, you punish them for attacking you. So, there are a lot of ways we can do this. So, one of them is obviously we need some way of reversing damage back. So, some form of damage type. Some form / way to do damage for getting hit. What are some other things we can do with this? We can add a taunt. Perhaps make it so that people don't attack you, like the guardian, like the spirit guardian, barbarian, or the ancestral spirits, or whatever it was. They can impose an effect so that if people don't attack them, they attack with disadvantage. Now, making people want to attack you because they have advantage against you anyways, because you're going to be attacking with advantage, because you're going to be attacking recklessly. So there's already an incentive to attack you, but this is going to make them want to attack you less. So we need to have some way to incentivize them to attack you. Furthermore, we need to answer a certain question here, which is this all melee ranged spells these spell damage effects? When do we want this to apply? Right? Do we want it to apply only some of the time, or do we want it to apply all the time when somebody does something to you? Now, I think it's whenever somebody does something to you is a little bit nuts. And even arguably, range attacks is a little bit much. I think that if we did it strictly for melee attacks, I think it's good enough. Now, next question that comes with this is, do we want it to be dice or flat? Personally, I think flats is probably going to be the better way to go, but we'll see. Now, for taunt, do we do full or pseudo? However you spell pseudo. Or full taunt or soft taunt. Actually, it'd be either a hard taunt or a soft taunt. There we go. Because a soft taunt is something like what the Ancestral Guardian does, which is it makes it so that attacking somebody else is less good. You're incentivized to attack the Guardian. That's a soft taunt. A hard taunt is something like drawing aggro in an MMO, where stuff is going to attack you. It's like it's going to attack you. You make it so that it does attack you. So, next thing that we can always do now, there's a few other things. Now, I believe porcupines, most forms of porcupines, are not burrows. They don't have that. They just kind of, they're herbivores that just wander, and stuff just tries to eat them, and then their spines say, "Haha, no." So, next question comes, what else do we give them? Because we have two ideas here already. What else does a porcupine do? Let's find out. Porcupines. Oh, they're technically a rodent. Herbivores eat leaves, twigs, such as clovers. African porcupines is not a climber and forages on the ground. Is also mostly nocturnal, but sometimes it eats food during the day, eating bark, roots, fruits, berries, as well as farm crops. No surprise there. Large variety of quills. We could give a, also go in there with a claw-like weapon. But they are also a rodent, so maybe we can dig a little bit into the rodent. We could probably go with a dark vision effect. Considering that everything has dark vision in 5th edition anyways. You know, just to add to that mess. Dark vision. Yeah, that's right, because dark vision isn't technically 1/1. You know what? Just add to the dictionary. Just stop bugging me about it. Alright, so dark vision. We can look at a few ways to do this. we can possibly add this in as a potential secondary or tertiary effect. But the main one that we need to worry about is the thing that kind of makes this type of barbarian that type of barbarian. Because this is all stuff like every single one does kind of add to the effect, but the big one is always the one at level 3. So like at level 6, you gain increased carrying capacity, as well as advantage on strength checks to lift, push, pull, or break. It's not really a huge boon compared to a lot of other things that you get, especially at level 6 of the game. Eagles get massive bonuses to their eyesight, which a lot of the time you're actually worrying about line of sight as opposed to being able to actually see that far. Unless if you're on the road a lot, this is great. If you're not, it's whatever. The elk is probably my favorite one, where it's like you just travel really fast. Your travel pace is doubled. And this is everybody. So like your team just moves faster. Like you can get wherever you need to really, really fast. This is probably my personal favorite of them all. Tiger gaining proficiency in 2 skills based primarily off of tiger-like traits, which I like this one too. It's pretty good, especially on the barbarian who doesn't get a lot of skills normally anyways. Wolf gaining hunting sensibilities, but you can travel creatures while traveling at a fast pace, and you can move stealthily while traveling at a normal pace. This one's pretty good. You can move at double speed, which is sort of like the is that you can track down creatures moving at a fast pace, and you can move more stealthily while traveling at a normal pace. So you can there's a lot of things. It lets you move faster in a sense of you can move faster while doing activities, but it doesn't let you travel flat faster. Whereas the elk one lets you travel flat faster, which is, in my opinion, better. I really, really like this one. I'm a little biased. All right, for the capstone at level 14, you gain a really, really good thing that just makes it so that everything other than you is not really going to get targeted. So it makes it so that basically the minions will always attack the bear barbarian. That's fine. Nothing crazy or fancy or problematic about that. If anything, it's encouraged. At level 14, you should like pretty much never go down anyways, at least from damage. At level 14, most of your problems come from spells that just make you useless as opposed to actually killing you. Eagles, you gain a fly speed equal to your walking speed, and it ends at the end of your turn. This effectively just gives you a jumping height of whatever your speed is at this point. It's pretty good. You can also do things like have the immovable rod in hand and just kind of do it at the end of your turn. Click the button, hang on to it, and your next turn you can click it again and start flying again. It's a bit of an interesting workaround, but it's a way that you could rule it. Elk is also really cool in my opinion. I really like this one. It just lets you just barrel over people. This reminds me more of a moose than anything else, where you just kind of run through people and just not care. It's an extra damage that's based off of which forces them on a saving throw, a strength saving throw, which is also going to be which aren't common. So a lot of creatures are actually not very strong against these. Makes them pretty. It means it's pretty good. Yeah, you do only get to do 1d10 12 plus 5. But you know what? A little extra damage is always a little extra damage. And you get to knock them prone, which means that if they are prone, you don't have to go reckless to just smash them into the ground. Tiger is really, really good. It gives you a pounce attack. It gives you a bonus action weapon attack, which is basically running the the barbarian that nobody took. The Battle Rager or the Frenzy Barbarian or whatever it was. Just never to get played again, because this means that you're just going to get an additional weapon attack at the later levels anyways. Now, being forced to move 20 feet in a straight line first yeah, that means that you don't actually get it, but you get it more about as often as the other one does because it forces you to incur exhaustion to use it. While raging, you can use your bonus action to on your turn to knock a large or smaller creature prone when you hit it with a melee weapon. This works kind of similar to the elk one, except this one only requires your bonus action to potentially knock it over, and this one you have to use it after you've hit someone. Now it automatically knocks the prone if you hit them, as opposed to forcing them to make a save. So you could argue one way or the other. I personally think the elk one is better. That's just me though. So granting some sort of really good defensive bonus or offensive bonus or high mobility, basically a powerful mobility, what is effectively another attack, or an automatic status effect that really helps you, is the capstone ability. The secondary is mediocre in most cases. Some are really, really good, but in all of these cases, they're utilitarian. Utilitarian? They have utility to them. So none of them are really designed to scale you out of control. Some sort of skill or something like that. Now, an interesting one could be foraging, because there isn't one for foraging. So I think we'll do something like this. So the big thing at 3 is to make sure that third level is set up correctly. So we're gonna go with while raging, your body produces quills. That protrude of your body in all directions. In all directions. Actually, it's not framed like that. You can frame it however you want. So while raging. Oops, not raging. While raging. Whenever a creature... Oh. T-U-R-E. Makes or hits you with a melee attack. You deal piercing damage. You deal piercing damage equal to... Now, we have a problem here with how much damage here. So we can either do a flat, which would be equal to your Constitution modifier, equal to your Constitution modifier to your proficiency bonus. Let's see. Bonus. That worked. Proficiency bonus equal to your proficiency bonus plus your Constitution modifier. So this means that at level 3, at the most, it can be, assuming that you get a 20 by level 3, which is unlikely in a lot of games, but in mine it's actually very possible, if you stack everything in one way, is that would be 7. At the later points of the game, it becomes 11. This isn't a lot. But in the earlier parts of the game, that's plenty. So we need to think of a way that scales it without it getting out of control. Because in the early game, it comes to one of those things like, how do you continue to scale this upwards? Now, this needs to be equivalent to gaining resistance, or moving an extra 15 feet, or giving advantage to your teammates at all times when they're fighting in melee with you. To the creature. My goodness. So you are the creature that hit you. To that creature should be. So I feel like this might actually not be enough. It's really, really good against a lot of enemies. Right? You just get in there, start hacking, start slashing, laughing, raging, and watch everything just kind of kill themselves as they attack you on repeat. The other thing with this is that because you're going to have a high Constitution modifier, you're inherently going to have a lot of hit points. Taking tough with this might be really, really good. This also means that you could grapple something, and the DM might allow you to do that kind of damage while grappling them. Things like that. Oh boy, we're gonna put this. We're going to also stick with the theme of the porcupine. I believe that's how you spell porcupine. Yep, spirit of the porcupine. Makes you a wall of thorns. All that would harm you. I think this is probably good enough. I don't think this is actually great, but it's probably good enough to kind of get you through. And this is one of those ones that falls off as the game goes on, unfortunately, because even in the later portions of the game, when you get to say 14th level, you're not really doing a whole lot with this anymore. It becomes much weaker, it becomes much less effective. It's inherently less good simply because of the fact that 11 damage at 14th level is kind of not a big deal. The barbarian is more than likely got a weapon that does a bonus die of damage or a bonus 2 dice of damage, and slashing into your opponent with advantage doing, say, you're probably going to be doing reckless, and you're probably going to have great weapon master. So doing 24, 25 damage and attack, most creatures have well over 50 hit points. 50, 60 hit points, and that's just the minions. Especially if you're fighting a lot of them. In turn, this means that a lot of the time that 11 damage probably isn't going to mean a whole lot. Yes, I know multi-attack will help compensate for this, and fighting a lot of minions will definitely compensate for this. If you use the minions rules, by the way, this is a really good way to make this barbarian feel very, very powerful. But ultimately, I think now it is guaranteed damage. So it's one of those things where it's like it is going to always pay dividends by having it. You are going to get hit. You want to get hit a lot of time, and you are going to have the hit points to deal with it. And it is going to stack up. Being able to do in the earlier parts of the game 5-6 damage. You do it 5 rounds, you get hit 5 times over the course of 5 rounds. That's still 25 damage. That's still 2 attacks that you could have gotten in. Quite good still. I think it will be enough. I'm hoping it will be enough. Because being able to math it another way means I probably have to put in a die, which doing 1d6, we'll say a 1d6 for argument's sake, 1d6 plus your con, or 1d6 plus your proficiency bonus, or something of that kind of nature, is kind of, I don't know. I don't like it on a return damage aspect. That's supposed to be a lot of the time guaranteed. Actually, I wonder. Let's look at something here. I think the barbarian. I'm going to take a look at the barbarian's rage damage. I think it's actually pretty similar to the proficiency bonus increments. Rage damage increases at the even. No, it increases at 9 and 16. So it would be pretty nutty to have it go plus rage damage. So it's rage plus proficiency plus con, which would be pretty crazy. Because at early levels that would be, what would that be, like say 3 plus 2 plus 2, so 7 at level 3 on a regular basis, especially if you plan to go this way. You're probably going to dump into con more. So that would be 7, which is what my barbarian in my game can do, but I run high HPs. We're already dealing with 7 to 11 on my own end. We're dealing with pretty high damage numbers. Sorry, not 11, 9. Which 9 in my own game would not be that big of a deal. We could go the other direction, which is go twice the proficiency bonus, which means that it does scale up. Even so, that means it would be 4 and then 6 at level 5. 6 plus con, if we assume plus 4 on the con, that's 10 at level 5. That's pretty rough. At the late game, that's 12, 17 return damage on an attack, which is a lot. So it might be twice the proficiency bonus, equal to twice your proficiency bonus plus your constitution modifier. It sounds like a lot, but it's an option that has to compete against having a bonus action dash and causing disadvantage and having disadvantage on the people attacking you at the same time, which means it's going to be regular attack probably a lot. Well, if you do it at the start of your turn, not so much. A plus 15 to your movement speed, or just resistance to everything. What's that?
Your offspring is not sleeping.
That's
She needs a melatonin.
great. Okay.
I have a UTI.
Ugh.
I need to see that.
You have a UTI, is that what you said? Oh.
Why isn't this table?
Oh. Okay. Oh. Alright. Now then. Second. Now, the second one is usually some sort of utility option that gives you something that may not come up very often, but when it does, you're glad you have it. Something like the elk, for example, really good if you want to travel long distances. Something like the eagle, good if you're in like wide open spaces. Bear is good if you want to be. Oops, no. Bear is great if you are, well, the pack mule, or you're going to be trying to siege stuff regularly. Wolf is good if you want to travel quickly or quietly, or you want to hunt something down. It's some sort of utility. I think a good one for 6. And are these while raging? These are not raging. These are just whether mounted or not. I wonder. What are the porcupine senses like? Do they have any special senses? Porcupine's eyesight is poor, but has an excellent sense of smell and hearing. Like other rodents, it has 2 front teeth that group to life. And alright, let's do this way here. Vermont wildlife. Gee. There you go. Fishing and wildlife. Here you go. Food items, habitats, history, resource utilization. The nuisance are passed without, as they can do considerable damage by their habitat, wood planks and things like that. Habitats and habits. Physical descriptions. Porcupine's fight sword, its underbelly, or the inside of its leg. It has powerful legs and large, flat feet. Porcupine is short, stout. See the walking armored ball appearance. It is slow moving but agile enough to climb trees. More than 30,000 quills. Well, eventually it hits internal organs. It could be fatal. A porcupine can remove other quills by grasping them with their scissors and using its front feet. I say it's poor, but it has an excellent sense of smell and hearing, like other rodents. For its life, it can produce a wide array of vocalizations, including shrieks, shrills, shrieks, coughs, groans, chatters, whines, and low grunts. Huh. Herbivores. Seeks out Pokemons for mating, blah blah blah. Some of these Pokemons inside quills. Occasionally nursing and full born in 3 months of age. Of 3 months, Pokemon is independent by the age of 6 months to reach sexual maturity around a year and a half. Twins are uncommonly young. Porcupine weighs approximately 1 pound and born. Vertical eyes open, his teeth are well formed, and his sense of smell and hearing will soon develop. Okay, so he has a really good sense of smell and hearing. So we can do for food item. Foods, roots, needs. In the winter they eat needles in the bark of trees such as hemlock, birch, beech, aspen, elm, oak, so on, so on. Natural disaster for salt. They have a natural desire for salt and will search for salt and natural salt deposits along the roadsides. They will also gnaw on dropped antlers of deer for minerals. Those have developed a taste for plywood, apparently food of the taste, and are apparently fond of the taste of glue. Other man-made items they often chew on include canoe paddles, axe handles, or any item that has been soaked in human perspiration over time. Curious. Habits and habitats are coniferous forests, but also frequent mixed delicious stands. But for food, each adult Pokemon has a range from 6 to 14 acres in size depending on food availability. The Pokemon tends to stay in the same home range and reuse the same den year after year. It's salted by nature, but many dens with other Pokemon in the winter. It does not hibernate, but it will stay in its den during bad weather. It may build a nest, but also might den in a hollow log or tree, rock ledge, abandoned burrow of another animal, under a stump or blown down tree, or even under a building. It's primarily nocturnal, mostly active at night, but does forage during the day when not seeking cover from the weather where the porcupine spends most of its time in the trees, feeding and resting. When confined, it will place its nose between the front of the will spin around so that its tail end is facing the predator. If it is attacked, the Pokemon will strike its assailant with its tail and easily dispatch quills that will become embedded the skin of the attacker. A common misconception is that the Pokemon has the ability to eject or throw its quills, but this is not true. The quill are designed to release when coming into contact with another animal. Current porcupine populations within the state of Vermont are stable. Oh, that's just state of Vermont stuff. So, in such a case, I think we can just give it a good means of foraging. This is something that isn't done by any of the other ones. It's a little bit different. Has a good sense of smell and good sense of hearing. So, all right. The superior senses of the porcupine. Oh my goodness. You gain the superior senses of the porcupine. while foraging, for food, your sense of smell allows for you to not only find twice as much food, but also makes it easier to detect poisonous or dangerous food. Poisonous or dangerous plants and hazards. Your improved hearing grants you advantage on perception checks made at should be made at night or made to detect made with hearing. Should be made with hearing. Made with hearing. So when you hear things, if it involves you attempting to hear something, you're more likely to hear it. Now, the last one is a major capstone ability that usually results in something like getting an extra small attack. So, if we get an extra small attack, which we kind of already got here, we get something here, similarly on the opposite end. So I think getting something here for a soft taunt is going to be good here. I don't think we're going to want to do a hard taunt. Now, what is the framing that they have for this? While raging, while raging, while raging. It's rage ability. So, excuse me. While raging. Now, these are things like run over. It's like kind of like the nature of these creatures, right? Kind of lays into it. So like the wolf, it's like the big thing is like they want to trip things. They want to bring things down to the ground. Elk, they just want to trample over their opponents. Tigers, they pounce. The bear, they want to make themselves the center of attention when they're fighting things, and if they can't be frightened, when they're scared, they try to fight them and because they're imposing because of their size. The eagle, it flies around, right? It can get to where it needs to be at all times. So the porcupine, this is gonna sound stupid, but I think it can get a bonus action to grapple. Modify the creature. I'm gonna do this. You also do this damage to a creature that you are grappling. You also do this damage to a creature that you are grappling at the end of your So this is also there's also now a grapple option for the barbarian. It's just so dumb. While raging, you can use your bonus action forget the soft taunt. Forget the soft taunt. This is now a grappler. Just dive in. This is a grappler dive in barbarian. I'm loving this. You can use your bonus action to force does it actually have anything to do with like animal forms or just a style of fighting? It doesn't actually give like context, it just says abilities. It leaves the context to you. So to force action to deal, it can't be synced up with other abilities. They all have to be standalone. That's the other thing. You can use your bonus action to grapple. You use your bonus action to attempt to grapple a creature. That might actually be good enough on it all on its own. Because the thing is, like, being able to grapple something, because you can attack it while you're grappling it. Grappling literally only just makes it so that your movement speed is 0. So being able to just kind of go, yeah, you're staying here, and then bang, 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 you're fine. Oh, it isn't. Oh. I apologize. The alert box is sitting in a weird spot there. Alright, thank you, Mark's Songs. Or Mark Songs, I should say, for the follow. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the tavern. 1 second, the wife is bugging me. What's that? Yeah, I can do that in a few minutes. Alrighty. You're very welcome. Appreciate it. That might actually just be good enough right there. Being able to just use your bonus action to grapple somebody. Because that's actually pretty good. Because that's like a pseudo attack. There's no context for like when you have to do it or anything like that with these other ones. Because these other ones, it's like you have to move you have to run through a creature. You have to move a certain distance. Or you get an effect just for like already hitting. Being able to just grapple, just straight up use your bonus action to attempt to grapple something is pretty good on its own. Especially as a barbarian, because a barbarian's going to have insane strength, too. So you can kind of just say, nah. You stay here. Or you can force them to spend their action to try and break free, too. Because unless I'm mistaken, I gotta double check here. I gotta double check the grapple rules here. Because this might actually be this might actually be more insane than I think I'm thinking. Grapple. Those are feats. Let's pass the feats. Resting, short resting. RP, research. Combat, your turn. Restrictions. Attack, where is grapple? Melee attacks, grappling. It can use its action to escape the grapple. So, okay, so you can actually potentially use a bonus action to remove an entire action from another creature. That's really good. And I mean, it applies grapple condition. And unless I'm mistaken, the grappled condition just reduces your movement speed to 0. But we're gonna double check that real quick. Grappled creature's speed becomes 0 and it can't benefit from any bonus movement speed. The condition ends if the grappler is incapacitated. The condition also ends if if an effect removes the grappler creature from reach of the grappling creature. Effects such as whether the creature is hurled away by a Thunderwave spell. Simple enough. So, yeah, this is actually pretty good, especially if someone's inherently, like, really elusive. Like, they just they're running around a lot. Is if the barbarian gets his hands on them, and they're not something like a rogue where they have a really high chance to getting out. This is really good. A fly speed that only works on your turn. A free attack for moving through something and using a bonus action deal. Like a bonus action deal, what is that? 7 plus strength, which will probably be a 10, which will probably be 5 at that point. If it's not, it's probably 4. So 7, so 11 damage average on a. Sorry, not 11. 15 damage average. So bonus action deal 15 versus bonus action grapple. Bonus action grapple is pretty good. Especially if you take something like, I think it's the Tavern Brawler. I gotta double check here. There is a grappler-based feat. Or, no, I guess it's just called Grappler, I think. Now that I'm starting to think about it a little bit. Grappler. You have advantage on attack rolls against a creature you are grappling. So this means that you wouldn't have to be recklessly attacking. You can use your action to try and pin a creature grappled by you. To do so, you must make another grapple check. If you succeed, you and the creature are both restrained until the grapple ends. I believe restrained gives you... That's kind of dumb that it makes you restrained, but I guess it makes sense. But that also means that they're just going to be taking damage if you take this entire totem base, because they're going to be doing con plus double proficiency. So that's 10, 15 points of damage at the end of your turn while restraining him. Attack rolls against a creature have disadvantage. The attack rolls have disadvantage. They have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. So I guess this would be really good if, like, this is actually a really good way for the barbarian to utilize grappling, is that if they have to deal with a single creature, which they're inherently not very good at doing, if you go with a grapple-oriented move where you're just like, nah, I'm just going to grapple him and then I'm going to take the grappler feat and pin someone, you're then doing damage every turn because at the end of all your turns because of this. But you can also just take a straight roll against this guy that you're grappling and then your allies all have advantage against them. So it's a way for you to, like, plus you get guaranteed damage out of it. So it's, I think it's a valid idea to go one way or the other. I think it's thin. I think it's debatably good enough. I think it depends on how much you value movement. And in 5th edition, there's so many ways to get around things that don't actually cause you trouble. Or don't... How do I say this? Opportunity attacks are less threatening than attacks of opportunity were. They occur far less often. And seem to be less threatening to end you in 5th edition than in something like 3.5 or 4. So, unfortunately, grappling doesn't do a whole lot, but it does keep something from moving, which can be a real big benefit for example, forcing someone to stay inside of an area effect can be really, really good here. I would also allow something like, if you succeed on another grapple check, you can move at half speed while dragging the person you're fighting with. Like, something like that. That's a homebrew thing, though. Like, that's a personal thing that I would add, as opposed to, like, it being rule. So, I think it's fine. I think it's okay. I don't think it's the best option, but out there, I think if you want to actually be like a passive damage dealing monster, you would probably actually take either elk or bear if you wanted to go like with the full, like, full thorns build, because like this is like gives them incentives to attack you. I think this goes well with the theme of, you do damage to creatures that are in close contact with you. It goes with a theme of a porcupine. If you want to go with like a very specific kind of build, I guess the bear would be a better option for the third pick. And then potentially something like the wolf, or even this one's very utilitarian. It's very much like separate from the other ones in terms of like way builds work. So I think this is fine. Overall, I think we're good. I think this is a perfectly fine set of abilities for a totem barbarian. Totem spirit. Aspect of the beast. Oops. And last but not least, totemic attunement. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome possum. Okay. I'm not quite certain what I'm going to do next. This is one of those things that took me a lot longer, I think, just because I just wanted to talk it through and make sure I did it right. I'm going to get up for a hot minute. I got to take the dog out to go to do her business. And ideally put her to bed right after that. It will be about 10 o'clock. I might do some gaming or maybe work on Zond. Zond needs to be ready for a week from today. And Zond is a an interesting deity. I think, but I'll debate it exactly while I'm on break, and then we'll get right into whatever it is I'm doing right after that. So stay tuned. I'll be back very shortly. Okay. So, I'm actually gonna do something here real quick. Is there a way I can save this profile? There is not. That's a shame. Alright. That was worth trying. Okay. So, I need to do... What was it that I needed to do? I need to create... Well, this is going to be something I should put on a notepad here. So I need to... for Zond... I need to do the following. I need to set up quests for Nogi, or, well, more specifically for Kit, because he put on the gloves that, well, basically gave him a bunch of stuff, and he can either make them better in one of two ways. He can either complete jobs for the, what is effectively my world's version of the devil, or he can just drain magic out of specific kinds of magic items. Specifically, I believe it was emitting. So, all the books, magical aspects. Here we go. So it was emitting, which is raw magic, renewal of magic, and mana. So basically stuff that has charges, and anything that has basically the most, like, idea of, like, magic in its purest form, would be emitting. So he either has to deal with that, or he has to complete jobs. So set up quests for Kit, as well as I need to make sure there, well, this is a general note, there are items he can potentially drain for power. That's, you know, a generalized note. It's more like a note for me. Me kind of thing. I think I need to think a little bit more in depth about exactly how I want to set up zones. So, like, for example, if we go to gods, patrons, and powers, and things like that, fixing the gods, what did I put as Zon's big things? Zon's big things is oaths, contracts, promises, seduction, and pride. So the big thing is that he's gonna work primarily off of contracts, right? Deals made. So things of that nature are gonna be the primary cause of what we do from here forward when it comes to dealing with, like, so I can think of about two things off the top of my head just because of in terms of, like, ideas for what we can have him do as potential contracts, bounties, if you will. Those are two. That's an obvious one. Dealing with Oathbreakers, for example, liars, things of that nature. People who have failed to hold up their end of the bargain, as it were. Dealing with these people, being the collector, would be a very interesting way of approaching this. Being the hands of a god. So quest set up for Kit. I mean, this can be being the collector of a broken contract. Oath, things of that nature. Can also be dealing with a unfaithful marriage. That's another interesting duality, actually, that's in there. He's not in charge of tyranny. He is in charge of law. Law in its truest form. Truest and purest form, which is you uphold to the law is held to the letter, but in a negative connotation. Unlike his brother Virgil, whom is law in the purest form, but in a good manner, to uphold the good things of the world. So that's the two things I can come up with off the top of my head easily for side quests, as it were. And I might use them both. The Paladin one, this can be an Oathbreaker. Paladin. Which then brings us to the next question of who is the sponsor of Oathbreakers? That's actually a really good question. There's a question for you. How do Oathbreakers maintain their power? Because they don't get it from the deity anymore. Is there a deity that would sponsor Oathbreakers? It'd be a chaos deity. Probably evil. But chaos in its purest form. Chaos in its purest form actually is probably Osvlox, but he doesn't care about such things. He cares about truth. Perhaps Durath? Durath is about chaos. It's about freedom. Being away from contracts. Perhaps you can go into multiple directions. So, perhaps Durath is the sponsor. Because Durath is about tyranny, yes, but he's also about freedom. Civilization, sacrifice, undead. Bahamut might take on Oathbreakers for the purposes of shortcuts, cheating, trickery, subtlety, crime, chaos in a lot of its civilization and its civilized forms. Perhaps there could be an outside partner at play. A third party, as it were. A warlock patron, perhaps. But what kind of warlock patron would have... What kind of individual would take on someone who refuses to keep his words? People that just want chaos. I don't have anything that just wants chaos. Right, just wants things broken. Most of the time, paladins that break oaths also break contract with their deity because their deity didn't help them. So perhaps we can go with something like the idea of an Illrigger. Or it could be another entity. And this entity seeks Oathbreakers because they are left to the wind. Because I don't believe I have anything that's really there for anyone that is not like the individuals that are of the patrons are not... They're not really ones for taking on Oathbreakers. I guess technically Jeremiah. Because he is about freedom. Chains, captives, slaves. Things of that nature. Those have been... What if we had one... I'm having an idea here. There isn't a deity about destruction in its purest, simplest sense. What if we made a patron that was built around the idea I'm not sure. That's a hard question to answer. What's for working on, Boss Mag? Alright. Hey there, Angry Meatball. I am about to switch gears from doing a barbarian thing. I'm swapping over to answering a very difficult question, which is, where do Oathbreakers get their power from? Like their magic specifically. Because the way that I have paladins set up is they're champions of deities. And their oath is kind of like their connection. They embody ideas that deities make. So an Oathbreaker paladin no longer embodies those ideas. They embody typically their own ideas. Or they have given up those ideas, ideals in general. So the question then becomes, where would they get their magic abilities from? Where would the divine energy that gives them that makes them anything other than a fighter? Where does that come from? That is what we are working on. And I think I have an idea. Because originally, because I have a god of oaths, right? Basically one that's like my version of the devil. What's the nature of the godly connection to the paladin? It depends. So it mostly depends upon the deity. So you can still embody a variety of paladin oaths that are in the book, like for example mechanical rules, but depending upon who you take, you would embody ideals of whatever deity it is. So for example, ideals of something like Varus, which is the thing of like protection, sea, ships, and trade. The big things with him would be like protection of the weak, defending those that you can, things of that nature. You take on someone who, for example, if you decide to be a paladin of Kambar, who is a dragon-based deity that's all about gathering wealth. It's, well, you gain wealth and you only work, and you work in, your oath would be work under profit, right? Rather than, so an example would be, one of your oaths of things that you don't do, for example, would be, don't provide charity as an option. It's kind of like one of the things. They become very similar to clerics in a lot of ways like this because of it, but it's built more around an oath rather of ideas, how do I frame this? The embodiment of ideals rather than a form of religious sacraments. It would be the easiest way of comparing the two. They're different. So the main thing that I'm going off of is that deities provide power as to their champions. Paladins are essentially holy champions. And when I say holy, I should actually say divine champions. A paladin, an Oathbreaker paladin, is not a paladin that is adherent to a deity anymore, at least not in the traditional sense, as they have broken their oath, so they've denounced their deity. So the question then becomes, in order for them to not just, can you become a paladin by accident, just simply by embodying the ideals? No, you cannot. The paladin is something that you have to, it's kind of like how you can be a cleric. It's like, how do I phrase it? So you can be a cleric and part of the clergy. You can be part of the clergy but not actually be a cleric in the sense of the class. So you can be a paladin by tradition. You could be someone who wants to pursue all the ideals and things like that, but you're not a holy champion, right? The paladin is something very specific. They are the person that they are a champion of the deity that also holds the ideals. It's very, very specific. And there's a reason that it's kind of set up to be the cleric fighter hybrid, is because that's how it was originally designed as well. So it makes a lot of sense. The main thing I'm trying to think of is, because there requires a divine connection, because it's not arcane in nature. If it was arcane in nature, you could just say, it just comes out of the air. But because the magic is divine in nature, for the perfection of the philosophy, etc., and not just to yourself. I mean, you can. So that's one of the things. It's like, you can, but no one does. And when I say no one, it would be one of those things that, if you saw this, that would be like the one time, if you saw that sort of idea in a person where it's not related to deities, it'd be like the one person that you ever would meet that does that. That would be a player character specific thing. Though the world isn't designed to really push for that idea. You can do that. But then it comes back to another question, is where does that power come from? That's the question I'm asking myself, and that's the question I'm trying to answer. So, essentially, there needs to be a sponsor from somewhere, or there needs to be some sort of natural energy somewhere that can be drawn upon. That's what I'm starting to think. So, okay, let's get the let's get the notepad out here, because this is one of the things. So this, the reason that, here's the whole reason that I'm asking this question in the first place, is because I roll all my treasure. So the piece of treasure that got rolled in the campaign that runs on Sundays, we're off this Sunday, but is because one of the player characters decided, hey, I'm gonna put on a set of gloves that gives me enchantment bonus armor. And what this did in turn was, okay, I have this enchantment, I have this bonus armor class, and it's a covenant item, which basically just means it's connected to a deity. And the way it works is that it gets more powerful the stronger the item gets. And there's two ways that he can do this. He can either drain raw magic items, so like magic items that either utilize charges or have raw mana or raw magic energy about them. I have a whole category system for this that I explain kind of as it kind of comes up. And I've already kind of explained that, hey, this is the sort of stuff that you're looking for. And if you identify the item, I can tell you what it's got. So you'll know whether or not you want it. So you'll know whether or not you have the option to drain it. He can do that. Or he can basically say, hey, God, what do you want me to do for you? And it can become more powerful that way. Now, the thing is that Zond, which is the deity that this is connected to, is the god of oaths. He's basically my version of the devil. And he is the god of oaths, contracts, promises, seduction, and pride. So the big thing here, so he's not a liar. And the big thing that Zond does, and this is the thing that matters here, is that because he is the god of oaths, there is this aspect to him that he is actually important to every paladin, because despite whomever the paladin makes the contract with, or makes their oath to, even if it's a goodly deity, as opposed to Zond, who is an evil deity, Zond is still ever partially affecting it, because oaths are his domain. But it also falls on him, in turn, that if someone is breaking oaths, to make sure that something gets done about it. So, two things that is important there. It's also contracts and promises and things like that. So, the big thing here is that, well, an obvious, easy side quest is be the collector, right? Make sure the devil gets his due. So go after an Oathbreaker paladin. Simple enough. Okay. That's easy to set up in game, right? All the mechanics and battle and all that, like, that's easy to set up. The question comes back to the world building aspect, which is, okay, where is this paladin getting, or this former paladin, this Oathbreaker, where does his power now come from? Why is he still capable of using magics? He broke his oath to, whatever deity. The deity is no longer supporting him. So where's this power coming from? The power of self could be a fine enough answer. But that calls into question, where does that come from? Because there's an explanation for every single spellcaster where the magic comes from, right? I mean, technically that's not... okay, let's see here. Not every paladin that breaks their oath becomes an Oathbreaker. Right? To me, that seems like a niche case. Would on that niche case be an interested party scoop up the candidate and be more willing to work against whatever power they once swore themselves to? That's kind of where I'm going. Yeah. So, like, they're all Oathbreakers, yes, but not all of them become Oathbreaker paladins. That is a fair statement. But we are talking about the specific scenario, the specific case. So, yeah, like a third party would come in and just say, hey, how about I give you power and you just do as you please? Because that's the thing that kind of matters here, is there needs to be a source of some kind. The only spellcaster that I can think of that utilizes themselves as a source of magic is the sorcerer. And that's because of their ancestry. Because they'll draw on it from some other, usually a creature that has magic, inherent magic about it. Because the warlock makes a pact, clerics get it from deities, wizards get it from the weave, or whatever your version of the weave is. Who else? Bards get it from the magic of music, which I actually have a whole explanation for that one, because there's a whole thing about songs and how they become magical and things of that nature. And then rangers and druids draw on nature as a magical source. So everybody else has an explanation, with the exception of where does a paladin get it from? It is a very manipulative entity, and that's the reason why I don't like it. Like, this idea. Because I would argue that in a lot of cases, a paladin that willingly breaks their oath, because that's the thing, is like, you didn't break your, like, in most cases, I would argue that a paladin that broke their oath, it's not that they messed up and did something bad or against their oath. It's yeah, like there's two ways that a paladin that is an oathbreaker thinks of this kind of entity. It's either, you know what, you're a convenient partner, or I know you're gonna screw me over, but this problem is too big for me to deal with without it. Is kind of like the scenario that that they're kind of stuck in. It definitely would be something that thinks 5 steps ahead for sure. Like, it has the 4D chess going on. So so let's see if there's so I don't think that fits any of the deities that I have, which is probably a good thing. Because it doesn't really fit a paladin to have paladin. It doesn't really fit a deity to have a Oathbreaker paladin. It would be more like a warlock patron or something in that kind of realm. Offer a third party, a surrogate parent / shepherd figure. Okay. Yeah, we could go with something like that. So, like, well, let's think about this. Go for it. Go for it. I'm all ears here. Or eyes, I guess, in this case. A surrogate parent or shepherd figure. Let's go with let's do this. Third party. Third party oath redeemer. You power. And you do it as... What was it? As you please? Yeah, as you please. I think one of the other... Let's see. Okay, you were once a paladin. You were put into a series of tough scenarios. Despite your best judgment, you made some bad calls and you got angry. Instead of telling you the correct way, they stripped you of your power. You feel abandoned. You feel lost. Right. So, like, that's the thing is, like, an Oathbreaker in my mind comes from someone who feels the Oathbreaker. Oh, that's what? No, Cloudbot. Why? That's not right. Oh, I gotta fix that. That's that's not supposed to be putting up right now. That's for when I'm playing Pokemon. I'm not doing that right now. Silly Cloudbot. Let's fix that. There we go. Abandoned. So where was I? Stripped you of your power, made you. Because that's the thing is, like, I think of Oathbreakers as. So when I think Oathbreaker, I think of someone who feels, not necessarily that they were, but feels abandoned. Or, even worse, betrayed by the god they served. Like, specifically, they feel like they held up their end of the bargain. And the deity doesn't feel like... But the deity didn't hold up theirs. In Struts, this Joel Osteen type character, bombastic, lively, has all kinds of answers, and more than anything, he sees where you are in life. He knows you're down, he feels your pain, and he wants to help you. Must be a friend. Honestly, I like that. I like that Joel Osteen type of character reference. I really, really like that. I hate that guy. You know what? He actually reminds me of a patron that I've already made a little bit in terms of personality, which was the Gambler. But his thing is all about, like, taking the chance on things. He wants to, you know, say screw you to fate, which is a whole other thing. He wants to be your friend, yeah. But I think so let's start with something a little bit like he wants, yeah, like the way he operates is pretty obvious to me. It just kind of, what is Mr. Third Party and what is his agenda? So, like, so we don't know who he is. And so we have a few things here. So how is he going to achieve, how is he going to achieve his goal? Well, he takes the lost paladins. Oh wow, that spelled really badly. And makes them his own. Why? Well, we need agenda. We need an agenda. When? I don't think there's really an answer for that one, or a question there. Where? Doesn't really matter. Everywhere. So, what is he? So, we need a name, and then what is he? Creature. So, this sounds like a devil to me. This sounds like a devil. And what one's counter to that? Exactly. So you could make an argument. So here's a cool idea, actually. Because Zond is technically a devil. He's a fiend. He's a fiendish entity. Technically. Although gods are technically not any particular thing. But he's kind of the god of law and evil. So devils kind of fit under his thing, because contracts and all that jazz. Even though angels technically are creatures that angels work differently in my world, same thing with devils, but I'm not going to get into all that. This sounds like a devil. It sounds like a creature that whose ambition is to overthrow the person that he's forced to work for. Now, this sort of falls under a little bit of the Chained One, but the Chained One was originally a fallen Asimar who made a deal could be a demon lord. That is fair. It is more about chaos than it is about law. And it's not one of the and it's evil law for sure. Not pure chaos or evil chaos. Not chaos purity. And the reason for that is because chaos in its purest sense doesn't care about destruction. It cares about doing whatever it wants. And that's neither good nor evil. Yeah, that's actually yeah, that now it could be Well, okay, what's the end goal? So if we have an up and coming demon lord, okay, well let's just run with the demon lord. Lord idea. An up and coming demon lord. What purpose does he have for taking on these lost souls? We can worry about a name later. But, like, why do this? What's the purpose of it all? It could be one of those things where it's just, like, unbridled destruction. But that's really, really flimsy and baseless. And I don't like that. I don't like baseless. Like, I don't like the Joker aspect where it's just like, I want to just break everything. Maybe there's... Well, what's the... Because it's not going to be for, like, a control of space. Because that's ridiculous. It could be someone who wants to just ascend himself. It could be that simple. But that seems a little counterproductive. Maybe I need to read... Let me read the... Godly power attained through faith. Godly power... How do I answer this? Yes and no. I would say godly power is maintained through faith. That's a better way of putting it. Godly power is maintained through faith. And... actually, faith isn't even a right word for it. Faith is a bad word for how deities work in D&D. Homage is a better way of framing it. Because faith in the gods in most forms in D&D is minimal, I would say. Because faith implies that you're going to adhere to something even if you do not have the evidence for it. It's constantly used in D&D that the gods very much exist. They are active. They constantly do things. So paying homage is a better way of putting it. And that's how you get these deities that are very unpopular. Yeah, that's why I like the term homage, because homage is like, you pay homage to something is you do things, you give up things for it. So it can be time, it can be resources throughout stuff. But the reason that also matters is that you can also, it's quantity and quality. So the reason this matters is that deities that are widely unpopular but powerful can gain significant amounts of power through quality of homage from specific members. For example, human sacrifice would be a means of high quality homage if done through the proper rituals. That would be an example. That would be one example. That's how a deity that is, evil and unpopular maintains his power. There's also other things like people adhering to the ideals also just does it in general. So, like, for example, Zond is always going to exist so long as paladins exist. Right. It's very unlikely. It's set up in such a way that it's very unlikely that any deity would ever vanish because of due to being unpopular. But there's also other things, and this is where it's kind of like, yeah, or yeah, but, because there's other entities like that are called deities for the sake of how powerful they are, which are the elemental titans. They're just the strongest elemental being on each plane. But people worship them as gods in some cases. And then there's the ones that are that exist no matter what happens, which are literally beings that are worshipped because they embody aspects of existence. So, like, for example, Yor, which is the god of death, life, comfort, cycles, and renewal, is like, he's not going anywhere, even if nobody worships him, because death comes for all, and the cycle demands that life comes back. So, it's like a yes and kind of thing. There's a lot going on. There's more than one way to do things, is the easiest way to put it. But, so, now if someone wants to become a deity, that can be done through a multitude of ways. So there's, what's a good example? Arash, who is the god of adventures and trials, challenges and struggle and travel and things like that. He amassed enough magical energy in his horde to just become a deity. Like, he is the easiest way of putting it without like going like super in depth about everything. He just amassed enough magical energy to just do it. We could go with that, with enough connections to old remnants, like remnants of deity magic. The Demon Lord wants to try and gain something through that. I don't like just wants to achieve godhood, though. That seems like too simple. Maybe it's not that's too simple, it's that it's done a lot. Or perhaps I'm just talking myself into out of good ideas. Who knows? Like, there isn't really anything that's going on with the demons other than just breaking stuff. That's the thing. Like, unless there's something about demon culture that I'm forgetting off the top of my head and can't think of. Like, I know that 5th edition is not good for, like, giving you reasons for stuff. Its disruption of those systems of homage in order to weaken to ungod gods too much of a stretch. That wouldn't be too much of a stretch. I like that idea. Almost like a counter PR campaign. That's definitely an idea. Perhaps that will be the thing. Perhaps we can go with the Demigorgon. I always like Demigorgons. That actually fits perfectly. Beast of self-styled Prince of Demons. Demigorgon yearns for nothing less than undoing the orders of the multiverse. An insane ensemble of figures that drives the prince to inspire fear and hatred among other demons and demon lords. Demogorgon towers 3 times the height of a human, and his body displays a snake-like. Where is an image of the Demogorgon? It's in here. Is it not in here? I guess it's not. Alright, snake heads, great apes, suckers tentacles like in place of his arms, serpent lower torso ends and webbed claw feet, forked tail, slip-like tails with the prince students, 2 baleful buffoon heads, both of them mad. It's the only conflict between the 2 halves of the dull nature that keeps the demon lord's ambition in check. Yeah. So we can go with something of that nature. I'm gonna check something about the Oathbreaker Paladin here. I forgot they gave you maps at the back of the MG. Let's see here. How do I alphabet? Oathbreaker Paladin, 97 in the player DMG. Oh yeah, that's right, the death domain's also in here. I forgot about that. Alrighty. Paladin who breaks his or her oath to sit in pursuit of some dark ambition to serve an evil power. Whatever light burns, the paladin heart has been extinguished, only darkness remains. Oathbreaker. Paladins must be evil, at least 3rd level to become an Oathbreaker Paladin. Paladin replace the features of the game from his or her sacred oath with the Oathbreaker features. Simple as that. Oathbreaker autonomy. Or atonement. If a player chooses the Oathbreaker option, you can later allow the paladin to atone and become a true paladin once more. which the tome must first shed his or her element and demonstrate his element change, blah 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 blah, all the typical stuff. Does not gain the creature's sacred oath until he or she is some kind of dangerous quest or trial determined by the end of the paladin who breaks his oath or sacred oath a second time can become an Oathbreaker once more, but can't atone. For obvious reasons. Okay, so they don't have anything specific on that. So, alright, so let's say to disrupt the system that... Call me the god of no gods, my friend. I am the lord of the unfettered, the prince of dramatic sigh of relief. I am... I'm sorry, that just got me for some reason. And I'm here to help you yourself actualize. And all you need to do is take those first steps to say, yes, I can. Alright, that is the gods. The gods and their control over things. This does fall in line with like the idea of have unbridled destruction. And so I'm definitely turning this into a more Gazette kind of character, but you get it. Yeah. I agree. That is more of a Gazette kind of character. Randomly woke up at 5, so here I am. We'll see when I had. Oh my gosh, Nano! God damn it, dude! Come on, come on, bud. What are you doing? Alrighty. I still like the unbridled kind of destruction kind of aspect to him, but it's fitting kind of weird here. Yeah, but definitely like wanting to disrupt the whole system. Okay, alright. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I appreciate you being here. And hello. It's okay, I guess. All right. Let's get a demon name in here. Oh, hold on. Demon Lord names. Here we go. Let's get a Demon Lord name in here. So anyways, Lewis is gonna kick a guy's teeth in, most likely. To ours, Gotail? Is that an exclamation mark or an L at the end there? That's an exclamation mark. Ours, Gotail. How would you even pronounce that? Goatia? Gotiao? Gotal? I don't know how to. I have no idea how I would even pronounce that. Oh man. Go Shaw. Oh, there we go. Okay, that makes more sense. Ours go Shaw. I kind of like that actually. Here's a fun question. Should we go with a male or female aspect? Hmm. I don't think it matters too much. And the only time it matters is if I have to do the voice. Which, I mean, obviously female voices are a challenge for me. Who would have thought? Hmm. The Latin translation of Lesser Key of Solomon. The Hebrew list of demons is a non-canonical book of the Torah. Yeah, exactly. Hmm. Okay. Let's give that a little. I mean, I have like name generators and stuff like that. You can find pretty much anything. Yep. Here we go. Probably where some of the demon lords got their inspirations from in D&D also. Because some of their artwork is probably pretty wretched. Or unnerving, as it were. Like Baal, for example. Belith. Asmodeus. Balm, all that fun stuff. Zagan. Ali. Let's go with, Hmm. 3 or 30 legions of spirit. So let's go with... Not quite sure here. I think I'm gonna go with a different one here. Let's go with By the way, when you announced someone stole my research, I was so close to just saying I'm fine that prick, even though you didn't even mention it as a player action yet. I mean, here's the thing: is like if you suggested it, I would be like, yeah, you can do that. Like that's the thing is like if you say, hey, that guy that ran off with my books, can I like have the ship stay for like 2 days while I go and find his ass? And I'm like, yeah, you can absolutely do that. Like. You'd have to convince Yura, which that's a real hard sell. Wants to go off, probably wants to jump ship and go find the prick herself. Oh, and the only reason I bring that up is because she's the captain of the fleet. So she's like the only one you have to convince to like stop the fleet from leaving. I like this one. Actually, wait a minute. No. What did I miss? Other than me just saying, yeah, I can... I'm not quite sure what name I'm going to use, but otherwise... You haven't really missed anything particularly important yet. Just me going through lists of names and just kind of sitting here going, what do I want to do? You know what? This is an easier name to pronounce. We're gonna go with this one. Bagan. It's an easier name to pronounce. I'm not gonna have problems with it. Other people probably won't have very many problems with it. And I'ma sit and just be happy with that. I'ma just be happy with that. Also, what are you eating? Instantly angry Lewis. I mean, that'll be a sight to see. That's for sure. Got kebabs from my favorite Persian spots. Nice. It's like 11 o'clock at night here. I'm actually up way later than I normally am. Well, I say way later. It's like normally go to bed at like 9 o'clock or so. Because during the week I wake up at 3 so that I can get up, have a shower, enjoy my morning, and then be at work for 5. Two hours behind. Okay, so it's like that. So it's 9 o'clock then. Yeah. I actually had some butter chicken earlier. It's really, really good. I love Indian food, man. Oh boy. So, okay. So we actually have a bit of something here. Okay. So now that we have this, the next question that comes in is, what does this fall under? Is this individual a demigod? Are they a quasi-deity? Are they a patron? Just a being of power of some kind? What kind of category are we gonna put this this individual under? I guess this would technically fall under the same kind of category as maybe one of the horsemen. This is actually wrong. I don't have any of this in here. Because I believe the chained one had the cinematicals, yeah. God wishing to be as powerful as the actual gods. Yeah, because right now all of them don't really want to do that. Basically what they actually do. So for example, actual gods have domain over have multiple domains, but for the most part, demigods only have like a single domain. So, like, for example, the Archfey technically fall under the demigod kind of category, because they're not proper gods. They're just beings of extremely high power, but they're not gods themselves. So, like, for example, the Archfey are kind of like, they're arbiters of the seasons and things that are associated with those seasons by virtue of that, but they're not beings that have dominion over large areas. Like the Horsemen, for example, they're not technically deities, I guess, either. They are. So the best way I can think of a demigod versus an actual god is a demigod is a deity is someone who is worshipped, but they're not all that powerful by comparison. You would need multiple demigods in order to make up the power that a proper god has. It's not really empirically... There is no empirical measurement for it. It's just it's one of those things, like, many demigods make up the strength of a single god. Is the easiest way to kind of frame it. It's mostly a difference in power, not in function. For example, orders of magnitude. Basically, like, if you were to think of a deity as like a magnitude 10, a demigod would be something like a magnitude, like, 5 at best. Like, that's the kind of, like, ideas that we're looking at here. Like, if you were talking about, like, earthquakes, for example. Right? Like, you need many demigods to make up the power of a proper god. That purely messes with portals. Oh, so you mean like a Horizon Walker. Or are you thinking more like a wizard that messes with portals? Like, and then I have as others that, like, demigod basically is a catch-all term for beings that aren't gods but are extraordinarily powerful. What's another way I can frame this? You can just teleport around the battlefield. I actually have a cleric domain that kind of does that. I think it's the travel domain. I'm actually genuinely curious as if I ever got around to making that. I think it's the travel domain. I think I have them something like that. Pilgrim's Blessing, Silver Tongues. So, Step of the Traveler, which is like a portal that you can basically make. This is as actually number of creatures you can modifier willing. Eyes threshold eyes. Unless it's expanded rift. No, the travel domain one just let you expand how your portals worked. Yeah, so this is a lot more about, like, travel, like actual travel. I guess this would technically fall under the same kind of category as other, because it's technically a being that has enough of a existence on the world that it's able to invoke itself to say, hey, I can lend you power to lost souls, as it were. dispossessed paladins. It'll just fall under other, I guess. That doesn't really matter too much. It's just it falls under another thing here. So let's create a title for this one. What's a good title for this feller? That's a cool idea, though. I like that portal. I like that portal idea. It's funny that you bring up something like that, because I literally just finished making the porcupine totem warrior for or totem options for the barbarian, which is basically the idea of like you have it goes off the idea of like people attack you and then they get hurt for it, right? It's a thorns build, and the other thing that goes with it is like if you grapple someone, you also do damage to them. They also had, I think the other two things it had was like a foraging thing and sounds weird. It does. And it also had like a free grappling thing. So like, it sounds really, really weak at first, but when you think that you can bonus action when you don't really have bonus actions, if you can bonus action to do grapple checks, it's like you can grab someone, and if you have the grappler feat, you can pin someone as bonus actions. So like it's actually a lot more powerful than I think a lot of people would give it credit for. Let's get rid of the name generator. I don't need that right now. A name, but so let's see here. I need where is let's just do this. All right, let's get rid of well, we know it's chaotic evil, so we're just gonna fix that right now. Oops. All right. Let's see here. All right. Are you looking for more intimidating sounding title or something that he might come up with himself? Both. Well, let's see here. Let's just start filling in the information that we do have here. So, name is Baggin. This also could be someone that you want to be a patron of. So this would be a fiend. How do you spell fiend? Is it F-I-E-N-D? Yeah. Creature of origin. This would be a demon. A demon. Mr. Second Chance. Joe Stein's swinger bravado we talked about earlier. Mr. Second Chance. You know what? I don't even care anymore. I'm putting a side note here. I'm putting a side note. Base this guy off of... Just because I love this idea now. I love this too much. Of Joel. Come on. Olstein. I love this too much. I base this guy's personality. Base this guy's personality off of Joel Osteen. I'm 100% doing that. Oh man, Mr. Second Chance. That'll be a nickname. 100%. That's a nickname that some would give him. I already have like the Western kind of like not even 1800s, like 1930s gangster kind of character in The Gambler. So I don't know if this could be like charismatic bravado. Also, he hates the nickname, but he hates people calling him that. But everyone calls him that. Yes, no, maybe. Grammar. It's all good. It's all good. He calls himself Mr. Second Chances. He hates the nickname, but everyone calls him Mr. Second Chance. So he went along with it and became the Second Chance. It's so stupid. Oh my goodness. What? Where is, I have a thing, actually. Where is, Also, my notifications are not working correctly. I just noticed. There we go. Apparently I have to had to reset the app. That's amazing. Well, you know who my world character is going to be considering to make fun of. Yes. Yes. Mr. Second Chances. Be very ironic about it. Oh my gosh. What is where's I need a thesaurus here. What is like thin refuge? Synonyms. Just E. Okay. Alright, let's do a little bit of looking here. Refuge. Asylum. Fortress. Haven. Hideaway. Hideout protection. Restored. Retreat. Sanctuary. Security. I hate that I'm laughing at this. Stronghold, ambush, convert, exits, expedients. Safe place, ivory tower, stopgap, resource. These are all getting kind of. These are all the good best ones. Let's see here. Ark, asylum. Let's see here. Security, sanctuary, retreat, What is for not synonym, antonym for oath? Betrayal, discreet, purified, identified, treachery, dishonesty, duplicity, breach of trust, disloyal, unfaithfulness, treachery. Treachery. Treachery's shelter. That's not how you spell treachery in the slightest. I literally just saw it too. Yeesh. Treachery's shelter. Fighting Oathbreaker is gonna be so much fun. Oh man. Don't make it sound like it's an everyday thing. Treachery's shelter. There's a title for you. Hell yeah. All right. All right, now the fun part. Figuring out what demon we're gonna use. Demon? Demon? Why are you here, demon? I have trained my entire life to do two things. Drink very good mead and slay demons. Mr. Second Chances. So dumb. This is the incorrect book. I'm supposed to be looking through the monster manual, not the player's handbook. It's starting to sound like bedtime. Yes? Demon? Okay. I mean, a Balor is always, I guess, a fine choice. It really should be like an up-and-coming demon, though. So, like, I'm trying to think of, like, a demon to base it off of. None of these lesser demons are really particularly good answers. Demigorgon. Oh my gosh. I literally talked about the Demigorgon earlier. The problem with the Demigorgon... Why am I like this? I almost want to suggest infidelity instead of treachery, because treachery has some harsh connotations. That's actually a pretty good alternative. Well, they're not supposed to, right? Because the thing is like this person, this entity, takes on the people that know they are dispossessed by something else for for reasons, whatever the reasons may be. Right? This is the guy that you go to when you don't really have another option. When even the god of deals is not gonna make you one. It's like you done fucked up if the god of deals is not giving you a deal. Right? Like that's the idea. Is like, you know the position you're in, and this is your last shot if you're gonna try and play this game. If you're gonna try and take a stab at playing this kind of game still. I think I'm gonna have to call it quits because my brain is just like stopping and going, stopping and going, stopping and going. I think it's time for bed. It is 11:30. I think it's time to call it quits for the evening. Oh boy, I don't normally stream at this time either on Saturday. It's normally in the morning. Early morning at that. Like 6 a.m. early morning. Full, like, 18 hours ago almost. But let's see here. Clients. Until further notice. Oathbreakers. That's a shame. I won't be online then. Yeah, I hear ya. That's normally the case. Like, my recent change in job forced me to swap over my sleep schedule from being awake from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Well, at least we have the begun the legend of Mr. Second Chances. This is gonna be such a bad joke for streaming purposes. Like, I can already see, like, the million jokes that players are gonna make. It'll be worth it, but damn. But yeah, Meatball, I had to swap over my sleep schedule about a month ago, and it's been like relearning the job, like relearning a new job has been its own effort, been its own problems. Normally, so right now the campaign that I'm running, it's Sundays at 4 p.m. for me. So it'd be 2 p.m. for you, I think. Yeah, 2 p.m. If you go to the Discord, you can see when it is. The main thing is, yeah, tomorrow we're actually off, but I'll probably be streaming at that time anyways, just to be available for players if they need stuff, and then probably to take care of, probably the rest of this, actually. And then who knows? Maybe I'll play a little more Pokemon at that point. I need to get through that. I need to finish that Nuzlocke anyways. I'll be honest, I'm in it for the world building. I don't watch games. I feel that. I do watch world building streams and some games. I don't watch a lot of games because I find most of them pretty mediocre. I actually kind of think my games are kind of mediocre, but that's just me. But I have fun and people have fun, and that's really all that matters. So, normally I try to have world building in the mornings because I find it's easier to fit it in time-wise, and I'm usually a little more awake. So, especially with my new sleep schedule, because like I said, I gotta work at 5 in the morning now. 5 in the morning start, I should say. I watch the games to see how quickly he loses the party. I mean, that sounds like you. With this one, it's before we start. Ugh. Anyways, appreciate you guys swinging by and hanging out. If I wake up late, it's one of those things, like, if I wake up late, I run this one. If I don't wake up late, I run the one in the morning. But, yeah. Till next time, guys. Really appreciate it. Cheers. Have a good day.